Thank you.
In this video, we're going to talk about 3rd through 6th grade Saxon math. And so we have our Saxon math materials here. What really changes, first off, to get us started, from Saxon math in kinder through 2nd grade versus Saxon math in 3rd through 6th grade?
So the format of how it's presented is what changes. It's still Saxon, it's still the same spiral, all the same things are being taught, but it's what it looks like for the student and how they access it is what changes. So for 3rd through 6th grade, the students get a soft-sided textbook.
Okay.
And this is where everything they're going to learn this year comes. And then they also have a test and worksheet book that they turn into their teacher before school starts.
Okay.
And it'll be another one that we cut the binding on and it goes home throughout the year.
The teacher uses it in the classroom.
Yes. They'll send home what you need. And then the last thing is the solutions manual. This is what you keep at home. It never comes to school. This is a parent resource, but it is a required parent resource. They've got to have it. So this has every answer, and more importantly, it's how to get the right answer for every.
It works out the problem.
Yes.
So if a student gets stuck, they can do that. But let's first jump into what I've noticed as a parent is that you don't have math meetings anymore, but you do still have a math warm-up per se that you need to engage in with your students.
Yes, exactly. Exactly like the math meeting in 2nd grade and younger, except it takes a lot less time.
Okay.
It's a lot less manipulative space, but it's just as important as those math meetings. Because just like the math meetings kept revisiting concepts, kept introducing and practicing, the warm-up does the same thing here.
So every parent, every co-teacher definitely needs to sit down when they start math with their student to do this warm-up, which is going to cover skills like the mental math skills that they teach in warm-up, correct?
Yes,
The problem solving.
Unlike the math meeting that has 5 or 6 sections to it, the warm-up only has 3 sections to it. One of them is the facts practice, which is just as important now as it was.
Keep doing those math practices.
And that will be sent home by the teacher. And then it also has the mental math, like you mentioned. And it finishes off with the problem solving. And that's where they're going to practice a wide variety of skills, as well as just that straight computation of the mental math.
Okay. So what should it look like on home days for a co-teacher and a student?
So home days are going to look very similar to math did in kinder through 2nd, except a few important but minor changes. Your lesson plans will still say to review, and that review is up to your discretion. You still visit with your student. You look at what the concept was taught at school yesterday. You just make sure that they're comfortable.
And the student book still walks parents through this, yeah.
Yes,
if they need it.
It is not as scripted as the kinder through 2nd, but it still is very, very step by step.
User-friendly.
Yes, it's still very, math is not my thing. I can still teach math.
Okay. Great.
So it's still in there just like it was, but the students have access. It's written to the student and not to the parent like the other one is.
I see.
And then, so you kind of go through the concepts, make sure they understand it. You do your warm up. You still do your facts practice just like you did. The thing that changes is that there's no longer a worksheet.
Okay.
There's no longer a 2-sided worksheet. There's now mixed practices in each of the lessons. And every day they do almost every day they do 2 lessons at school, and they'll use the first mixed practice with their teacher at school, and then their teacher will assign the second mixed practice of the day for you to do at home. That is done in these recording worksheets.
Okay, so we show our work, so students so the problems come out of the book now.
That's right.
Practice problems are called a mixed practice out of the book. Then they will show their work and record their answers in either one of these.
That's right. There's 2 varieties. There's the kind that has the grids on it. If your student struggles to line up their place value when they get lost, I recommend at least starting with this one. But the grids can also be overwhelming for some students, and they prefer the blank. And either are acceptable.
Teachers will provide this.
Teachers will provide the digital copy, and then
they can make copies.
You make copies throughout the year as you need, and you choose what you're going to use. But so you copy the student copies the problem from the book onto the sheet, and they solve it.
Okay. And now, what is the correct grading procedures and practices for these at home?
So the grading procedures stay the same from kinder through second into third through sixth. They,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, they solve the problem. They do the work.
Okay.
And you can sit with them to check in on skills. If they ask questions, that's great. We want them to be, this is not an independent time necessarily.
But if you have other kids, I mean, I think it's understood. Yeah, they can.
It's time that you can kind of even work through.
So I would even just make sure that as a co-teacher, I'm in the room when they're doing their math, so that if they get stuck, we can overcome any emotional frustrations.
Yes.
So, but I might assign my 3rd through 6th grader to start with their independent practice after doing the warm up with them and checking in, so that then I could turn and work with a younger student or a different student if I need to.
Absolutely. And every mixed practice from 3rd through 6th grade is set up in the same process. The first 5 to 10 questions will be word problems, application problems. Then you'll go into another 10 to 15 computation problems.
Okay.
And then it will end up with some problem solving, a little bit wordier, tends to be multiple choice type questions. And so if you have multiple children or you want your students to be independent, you can pick and you can say, okay, you struggle with word problems, start here at number 10 with the straight computation. I'll be back and we'll do the word problems. We'll read them together.
Do those part together.
Or you ask them to try them and come back. So
it is okay for co-teachers though to be assisting if your child needs help.
Yes.
And, if they have questions, to help them work through it. But then we want to notate that on the assignment when we turn it in for the teacher.
Right. Yes, and this is a place where being a co-teacher is a wonderful place. You get to choose for your child. And ultimately, yes, mixed practices should be independent work. They should be able to sit down and do the 30 problems.
Ultimately, they will be asked to perform these skills to show that they've accomplished this, success over this knowledge on a test in the classroom, correct?
That's correct. So they will do an independent test, and it will be in much the same format. It's only 20 questions instead of 30 questions, but it's the same setup. It's the same style. So you do want them to be independent, but helping them get to independent
is up to the co-teacher.
That's right. That's
what your students.
That's right.
So students are going to do their homework assignment as independent or with support as needed. Then we're going to grade the assignment, mark at the top how many was missed, any notes for the teacher if needed, and then what about corrections? Do they still get credit back? We talked about that in another video.
Yes, they still will get credit once your student has completed their mixed practice, and they can ask questions. They can check in with you as needed. But once they have independently tried the 30 questions, you as a co-teacher are going to go in and grade it, and you're going to mark they missed 1, 8, and 12.
Okay.
Then you'll put a -3 at the top. Your student will go back, and here's your great opportunity to reteach. With my students, I've pretty much had them do it independently, and then my co-teaching, my coming alongside has been in the corrections. And
that's when you really kind of engage more and reteach, go back to the lesson if you need to.
That's right.
So after grading it, they still need to write corrected too. So the student will go back, we'll reteach, we'll fix our corrections, and the parent also needs to write corrected.
That's correct. You'll write the full word corrected at the top.
Okay.
And you will sign it or initial it as you choose. That tells the teacher that you have engaged with your child, your student, and that they are ready to proceed.
Okay. Something else that I think is good for parents and co-teachers to know is that if you are in need of additional practice problems, the book offers that.
And there's 2 ways in which it offers that. So every single question in this book tells you which lesson it was taught in.
Okay.
So if you were on lesson 63 and your student was struggling with question 7, there's this little tiny number in parentheses that says 53. That means go back to lesson 53.
That means this problem is covering the topic covered from lesson number.
That's right. And so if they're unsure about vocabulary or they're unsure about process, that's a great place to go.
Okay.
But the other part is in the back of the book is a section called supplemental practice. And that is where you're going to find, it's not going to be word problems or application style. It's going to be straight conceptual practice. I need practice on 2-digit by 3-digit multiplication, I'm going to open up and I'm going to go to lesson
There's
29.
problems that you can work through that cover the same skill.
Exactly. And sometimes teachers will assign that because they want to practice a skill.
Okay.
And sometimes it's just there for you to use as a co-teacher.
As additional, and you'll see that in the encouraged work in lesson plans.
Absolutely.
If your student needs it, then you can make the most of it.
Absolutely. And the solutions manual, the answer key, has answers for all of them, including the supplemental practice.
Okay, excellent. Is there anything else we need to add about 3rd through 6th grade math that would be helpful to our parents and co-teachers?
No, I think I'll just make one more plug that as tempting sometimes as it is to say, oh, this is great, it's a time to step back and let my student be independent. There is a level of that. You want them to try it first, but we really as parents still need to be involved. That 3rd and 4th grade math, once they get the process of this new setup, it seems it's easy in the sense that I can let my kid do it, but it's deceptive by the time they get to 5th and 6th grade. You're going to kind of think, well, maybe I should have stayed engaged a little bit. So just making sure that they're getting the things in 3rd, 4th, 5th that are going to set them up for 6th.
So it's great to let them try to be independent. However, as a co-teacher, just still be ready to be available to step in and provide support whenever they need it. And I'd definitely say that's definitely more important than getting to a place of frustration where student and parent is breaking down and just
absolutely. And before you get to that point, but definitely if you're at that point, your teacher is there to help you, to give you tips and tricks.
Right. So if you have any questions, you can go to your teacher and be sure to ask them. All right. Thanks, Kim. All right. Thank you for watching.